Hi, welcome back to Finally Revealed. In this episode, I want to talk about post-divorce cleanup. People go through their divorce and look at the actual decree of divorce and any appeal time, depending upon where you live, as the final step to actually say we're officially finished. But you're really not until you take care of these 15 things. If you have a court that has ordered in the U.S. a division of property and any maintenance or alimony and child support or visitation, if the court has decided everything, then there are certain times that can be revisited, and some of these things are going to come into play there. So you want to get things lined up on both sides of the fence right at the time that you get divorced. So here are 15 things to make a note of, and once you are divorced, or as you're getting ready, some of these things might tip you off as to what you might want to include in your property settlement agreement. Or if you're going to court on everything, hopefully you're not, but if you're going to court on everything, some of these things might say, oh, wait a minute, I have to consider that, and that will help you work it out in advance or to plan. But once that order is entered, these are the things that you're then going to need to do, and the sooner you do it after the order is entered, the better. And maybe even have a little notebook to make sure that they're all ticked off, because once you're divorced, and things can happen. And you don't want your family or yourself to be caught off guard or create a whole new set of things that you're going to have to do. So, and I said 15 and now I've already got 16. I'm going to start with the big one, which is your taxes. Whatever your marital status is on December 31st of any year in the U.S., that is your status for filing for your income taxes. Number 2 is an easy one. You want to have a calendar. Make a calendar, especially if you have children and you have visitation issues. Go ahead and write it out. Add in any particular provisions that you need as far as advance notice on vacations. Make a note of that as you're sitting down and planning out your vacations for the year, or travel to graduations or birthdays or weddings. Make sure that you have all of that written out so that it can help you troubleshoot problems going forward in this first year and afterwards. Also, as I mentioned in the little preamble, there are certain built-in times when child support can be adjusted, when it's expected to kind of an ordinary look-back period, unless something else big has happened. This is a kind of a normal place. Ask your attorney so that you know what those times are. It's usually tied to the age of your children. Go ahead and make a note of that, so that maybe about 3 or 4 months before their birthday, so that you can kind of get ready for that and you're aware. And that applies whether you're the one receiving money or paying. The next one, if either or both people change their name as a part of the divorce, get a certified copy of that decree that changes the name, and go ahead and get your driver's license, your passport, and all of those things changed. Your social security card, go ahead and get all of those changed. If there was also a change of name for any of the children included, sometimes that happens, go ahead and get their documents revised as well. Then once you have your official documents, you're going to have to go through and change other things like bank accounts, checks, all of those things. Just make a list of everything that there is and get that finished. Along the lines of changing your name, you want to change your will, if you have one, to change your beneficiary. There are some courts in some states that within a certain period of time, if someone got divorced and then they pass away, if they didn't get their will changed, the court sometimes will look to the property settlement agreement and the decree, but not always. You can't depend upon that. So you don't want this to be a straggler left out and forgotten about. So go ahead and update your will, and normally if you have children, your other spouse, unless there has been a termination of rights or custody, normally the other parent is going to be awarded the children, but depending upon your situation, that might not be the case. So you want to go ahead and get that taken care of. Insurance, you want to change your beneficiaries if you had your spouse on there, unless it's part of your decree or your property settlement agreement where you have agreed to keep insurance with the ex-spouse on there, maybe for a support obligation or some other reason. Bank accounts, you want to change not only your savings and your checking, get new ones if that's easier, but also certificates of deposit and any accounts for the children. Make sure, again, with name change, that's going to carry through, but other than that, you want to make sure that all of those accounts have been changed. Some people think that whatever is put in the property settlement agreement or the court's order, that it automatically, magically changes ownership or names on things, and it really doesn't. The only thing that is kind of an automatic or can be used, and it's not automatic, is if real property is owned by the parties and the decree or the property settlement agreement that then is incorporated into an order or decree says this party gets this property, this party gets this property. And if they don't execute a deed, then this document will suffice. But if that document is going to suffice, it needs to include the legal description. Most often you'll also include the address, but the legal description is important. The document will have to be acknowledged, which means signed in a particular way for the state where the property is, and then that original document will have to be recorded wherever the property is located with the county records. So it would be better to have deeds prepared and executed and then get those separate deeds filed. But you want to get that executed as soon as possible after the court makes the order or approves the settlement agreement that you've agreed to, and get those things recorded so that that property has been transferred. The next thing is the debt that goes with the property. If there's a refinance obligation, or maybe one of the parties applied for the obligation on their own, then you want to make sure the other party is no longer included. The creditor is not bound by what is in the court's order or your agreement. They don't have to abide by that. So if there has been an agreement where one party is going to take this over and indemnify the other one, you want to let them know. Again, it's not going to be binding on them, but you want to have some correspondence just to back that up so that they're aware of the situation, especially if you're the one who is not going to be paying. If there is a requirement, kind of tagging on that last one, but this is a separate one, if there's a requirement for a mortgage to be refinanced or the property loan to be refinanced, if there is a period of time when that has to occur, make sure you include that in your calendar and you get that done timely. Car loans and cars are similar. Do the parties hold title to the cars together? Is one person going to get the Nissan and the other person is going to get the Jeep? Go ahead and transfer the title absolutely to the other people so that it's not tied up. You have to chase people down for signatures and things like that. Again, same thing with the car loans. Are you going to indemnify each other against having to pay their debts, or are you going to refinance that? Get that taken care of as soon as you can. I already mentioned children's bank accounts and children's educational accounts. Make sure that those are changed if that is what is provided for. If you have a business, this is a whole other thing. If you have a business together, or if you are included on obligations with your spouse's business, whichever one you are, whether you own it or maybe you each have your own separate business, go through all of those documents. Make sure that the spouse is taken off unless it is something that is provided for in the order or the decree that they have to share in something. And if there is something provided that one of the parties gets income from the company or some ownership share or something like that, go ahead and take care of that as soon as you can. Safety deposit box is something that you might think about with a will if you have a will, but sometimes it's completely unrelated and you may have other things in there. You may have firearms, you may have jewelry, you may have investment documents. Change those safety deposit boxes, maybe get a completely new one, and make sure you take the other people off of yours and empty those or disperse the property that's in those according to who gets what. Back to the house again, or the home or the apartment or condo or wherever you live. What are the utilities? Whose names are those bills in? that go with the property. You want that to match up unless there is some separate support obligation where a party not living in the property is going to be paying those utilities. That's probably not a great idea, but if that's what you agreed to, that's what you agreed to, or the court ordered. But get those bills to match up with the party that's paying them. If there is some balance due at the time that you got divorced where each party has to pay a certain amount, make sure that that happens and then close that down, or just transfer it over by removing one of the names. Again, credit card statements. Are there credit cards that are being divided up? Are they in both of your names, one of your name? Get that all sorted out as well. Keep copies of everything if there's anything that's going to be done later, just so that you have documented proof on what the balance was at that time that it was supposed to be transferred over, so that then if that card is being used further, you can tell who's responsible for what. And the same goes for any other loans or bills that you might have, maybe for a storage unit, maybe for a boat. Again, whatever your situation is, you want to get all of those accounts and bills and loans set in the correct name of the correct party who's going to pay it, and keep track of that and check it off when everything is done. So I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, give me a thumbs up, leave any comments or questions below, share it with someone who might benefit, subscribe to see the other videos, and come back and see me next time. Thanks for watching.